Let's talk about a phrase that's been echoing across social media in Japan. A phrase that says more about our current political climate than perhaps the original statement itself. It's your fault for asking the question. This sentiment didn't emerge from nowhere. It bloomed in the aftermath of a specific and critical parliamentary exchange involving Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae and a question regarding a Taiwan emergency. The context is everything here, so we need to rewind. Taiwan, a self-governing island, is a perennial flashpoint in East Asian geopolitics, with China claiming it as its own, and nations like the United States and Japan walking a delicate line. Japan in particular has historically been cautious, but in recent years has shown increasing concern about regional security, about what a conflict over Taiwan would mean for its own safety. So when a lawmaker stood up in the Diet and posed a hypothetical, a very real hypothetical, about how Japan would respond to a Taiwan contingency, it was not an outlier question. It was a question weighing on the minds of strategists, diplomats, and citizens alike. The answer, however, took a turn that few anticipated. Prime Minister Takaichi's response was interpreted by many not as a clarification of policy, but as a deflection, a rhetorical move that seemed to question the very act of asking. The details of the response are nuanced, but the public perception, the soundbite that traveled, was clear. You are causing trouble by merely posing this scenario. Now this is where the digital ecosystem takes over. The initial news reports covered the exchange, but the second layer, the social media commentary, became the real battleground. This is the engine of what experts are calling the secondary fabrication of facts. It works like this. The original event, the Q&A in Parliament, is fact number 1. But then commentary online begins to create fact number 2, a new narrative, a new set of assumptions that are only loosely tethered to the original. In this case, the secondary fabrication was the rapid, widespread adoption of the idea that the lawmaker was wrong to ask, that the question itself was irresponsible or even dangerous. This sentiment, it's your fault for asking, spread through tweets, through viral posts, through heated comment sections. It became a tool, a cudgel to shut down discussion, to frame concern over a potential war as somehow disloyal or provocative. The people amplifying this were not just random accounts. This ecosystem often includes political supporters, hyper-nationalist voices, and networks that benefit from controlling the narrative. They seize on a fragment of the truth, the Prime Minister's defensive posture, and build an entire fortress of new logic around it. The effect is a chilling one. It moves the conversation away from the substance of Taiwan's security, away from Japan's preparedness, and onto the meta question of who gets to speak and what they are allowed to ask. This is profoundly dangerous for democratic debate because it makes the inquiry itself the scandal. Look at the public reaction. It has been sharply divided. There are those who fully endorse this sentiment, believing that discussing such scenarios publicly undermines diplomacy and plays into China's hands. They argue for quiet, behind-the-scenes strategizing, not open parliamentary debate. On the other side are journalists, academics, and ordinary citizens who are sounding alarms. They see this as a fundamental erosion of accountability. If you cannot ask your leaders about their plans for a regional crisis, then what is the point of representative government? The global impact of this micro-trend is part of a much larger pattern. We see similar dynamics in other democracies where complex issues are reduced to social media slogans, where the act of questioning authority is framed as weakness or betrayal. For Japan, a nation navigating an increasingly tense region with a powerful neighbor in China, this internal shift in discourse has external consequences. It signals to allies and adversaries alike how Japan debates its own security. It reveals fractures and pressures within its society. The future possibilities here are concerning. If this secondary fabrication of facts gains more momentum, if blaming the questioner becomes a standard political tactic for difficult topics, then the space for genuine policy discussion shrinks. We risk entering a cycle where only the safest, most anodyne questions are permitted, and the most critical challenges go unexamined until it is too late. The story behind It's Your Fault for Asking is not just about one day in Parliament. It is a window into how modern political narratives are forged, not just in official statements, but in the chaotic crucible of social media, where facts are repurposed, where context is stripped, and where the very legitimacy of asking why is put on trial. The next time you see a wave of sentiment online pointing fingers at the person who raised an issue, look closer. You might just be witnessing the fabrication of a new fact, one that could silence the questions we need to hear most.